I'm Raymond. You're watching RPadTV, and I owe you guys an apology. I've been out for the last few weeks because the day job has been killing me softly with its song. Killing me
Yeah.
softly.
The,
But
the
I am back.
original version or the Fuji's version?
Oh, I'm Roberta Flack all the way for me.
Okay.
Not that I don't mind the Fugees version, but the original is just that is where it's at. That for me. So I am joined today by the wonderful Paul Semel, and we're going to talk about Marvel's upcoming X-Men movie. Lots of interesting news and theories about that. But before we get to that, paulsemel.com has a lot of interesting things going on. So Paul, please tell us
Yeah.
what's the latest.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks. Earlier this week, I put out a couple of big video game things, including a review of Tomb Raider Pinball for Pinball FX, which is super fun. And then Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, which is also good, but also very Kojima. So definitely, read the reviews of that one before you go out and get it. And then I did I got to go to the Borderlands event over the weekend, so I also have a hands-on preview of Borderlands, which, if you like that game, I think you're going to like this new one.
Or if you're a Bobby Lee fan.
Yeah. And then I have a whole bunch of book stuff coming up next week, including an interview with Matthew Kressel, who wrote a book called Space Trucker Jess, about a woman who becomes a space trucker. And I did ask why he didn't call it Space Truckin', because, Deep Purple. And then I also have an interview with author Patrick Childs. This is the second book in a series called Interstellar Medic, about a woman who becomes an EMT in space. And this is the second half of the story. So in the first half, she becomes the medic. And in this half, she realizes that thanks to time dilation, due to space travel, she's been gone 20 years, not 5, and she might want to go home and say hi to her mom. And then the other one that I got coming up, this is an anthology called Dancing with Destruction, which is a collection of military sci-fi stories. And I think it's hard to see, but there's like an alien there. Yeah. And the cool thing is, the editor told me that the way they did this book is he literally showed people the cover art and said, "This is the cover. Go write me a story." And they said,
"Oh wow,
okay, yeah."
That's a cool way to do it.
And the thing is, like I said to him, so did you have to kind of give people guidelines so you didn't wind up with 13 of the same story? And he's like, I didn't. He goes, some people made the alien the prey, some people made it the predator, this, that, He did say he had to say something at one point to somebody about putting too many Predator movie references in, but that was about it. So so that's it. And as always, lots of cool book stories, more video game stories hopefully coming up. Yeah, that's all I got.
So you guys need to check that out. Go to paulsemel.com. The URL is scrolling beneath you. It's on Paul's Chiron, but there's also a direct link in the Facebook and YouTube descriptions. And you guys, you need to go to paulsemel.com. It's an excellent website. And if you don't go to it, you will die. I don't know if that's true, but my friend Marjorie told me that Paul's ancestors killed JFK. So there might be something to it. So
what?
You didn't hear
that? I told you not to listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Carlos is complimenting my shirt, yes, with the AT-AT and Death Star schematics and all that. Ooh, and Carlos has a question for you, Paul. Paul, are you going to review the Acolyte prequel book coming out next month?
I am not going to review it because I don't do book reviews on my website because for some weird reason they don't get any traffic. I don't know why. I did a book review of a Chuck Palahniuk book. Nobody cared. I am going to read it, and when as people who follow me on social media know, when I read a book, I always tell people what I think of it. So when I do get around to reading it, I will say, "Hey, I'm reading it. This is what I think." And then when I'm done, I'll say, "Hey, this is what I thought." But it will be a while because I haven't. Obviously, the book isn't out yet, and my to be read pile is bigger than Raymond. It's
And
just
Paul reads a lot of books, though, so I expect you to get through this. So,
yes, it will. But I think I literally have 4 other Star Wars books.
Right.
In the wait, or do I? I don't know. I have at least 3. So
So
it'll be a while.
let's get some background information on what we're doing today. Back in May, there were rumors that Jake Schreier will be directing the next X-Men movie, the first X-Men movie for the MCU. And, that was the rumor du jour in May. Thunderbolts was coming out, so he was the hot director. But then last week, all the Hollywood trades said that he was directing the movie, although Jake himself is yet to say anything. But then this week, Ryan Coogler said that Jake is directing it, even though Jake hasn't said anything. So let us assume he's directing it. And for the purposes of this video, we have to, because otherwise it kills the entire premise.
Right.
And so for those of you not familiar with Jake Schreier, obviously people know him this year from Thunderbolts, which was well reviewed, although not as commercially successful as they wanted to be. I know him from Paper Towns, which was a lovely little movie with Cara Delevingne. So actually, I only know him for those 2 things. So that's it. But I love Thunderbolts. Paul did not like it as much as I did, but I think you still enjoyed it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I enjoyed it. I just didn't like it as much as you did.
So let's start there. Thunderbolts was critically acclaimed. What elements from that movie would you like to see in the upcoming X-Men movie?
Well, the 2 that I thought of they're not exclusive to Thunderbolts, and in fact, they are sort of hallmarks of the Marvel movies, which is the action, of course, and the snappy dialogue. But both of those things, like I said, they've been in almost every Marvel movie that we've gotten, and every Marvel TV show, with maybe a handful of exceptions that are kind of on the low end of the scale, like
Secret Invasion.
I always think of Echo as being to me that's that and the Hulk movie are like that. Yeah, they're definitely at the bottom. But yeah, so those are that's what I expect to see. I mean, I think you will also have good camaraderie between the X-Men themselves. But I have to say, this is a difficult, I did a lot of thinking about this topic over the last couple of days, and this is a difficult thing to kind of talk about because there's one kind of elephant in the room that kind of screws things up, which is, well, we're not going to get an X-Men movie probably until after the 2 Avengers movies. And I did some checking, and in Doomsday, there's a bunch of X-Men characters.
Right.
And they're all the people who played them in the original movies.
Right.
You have Nightcrawler, Alan Cummings, Mystique, Rebecca Romijn, Magneto, Ian McKellen, Charles Xavier, Patrick Stewart, Cyclops, James Marsden, and Kelsey Grammer, Beast. Now, you also have Channing Tatum as Gambit, but I feel like he fits in more with that group than with the earlier group, the younger group, the Jennifer Lawrence and whatnot. And obviously, there's a whole bunch that are not. But we don't know what's going to happen. Like, is that the X-Men that are going to be in this movie? Is it going to be the younger X-Men? Is it going to be a different group of X-Men?
I would say all the people from the Fox movies I expect almost all of them to die in the Avengers movie. And that'll be the whiteout that they use.
Yeah. Either die or somehow be rendered out of the MCU,
which is death.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't necessarily think you're going to see like Alan Cummings bite it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's going to get killed necessarily. I mean, he might, but I think that world will go out if it could.
Who did he say? He said he has a fight scene with someone that I can't remember off the top of my head, but he probably blabbed it. But he said he's fighting someone from the current MCU. I totally don't remember. But
I don't remember. But
I expect him to bite it. Carlos, if you're there. Ooh, we got questions from Mackenzie Calhoun. 2 questions. Why can't Hollywood get Dark Phoenix right? And when is Iceman getting his standalone movie? It's what the people want. No, it's what you want. Although I wouldn't mind a better version of Iceman where he's an Omega level mutant in the comic books, which means he's like top tier in terms of powers. The only thing that's really limiting is himself. So, and that has never been portrayed in the Fox movie. So I would love to see an Iceman that powerful. And as for why can't they get Dark Phoenix right? Because they try to do it in a single movie, and I don't think it works that way. It'll either have to be a multi-part movie or a video streaming series, because there's so much that goes into it if you want to tell the story correctly. How do you feel about that, Paul?
I kind of agree. I also think that in both cases they had to fit it into the existing framework of the X-Men that they had. So it was a little tricky to try and do that. You know, like it'd be one thing if like let's say for the sake of this discussion that there's a complete
which time do you mean though? Because Fox did it twice.
Well, both of them. In both instances, it had to fit with what had happened before within the movies. I think, for example, if you let's say for the sake of this discussion that at the end of Avengers Doomsday, all the existing X-Men get wiped out and you introduce a new one, and then they go in to do but even then they'd have like the bag. I guess without the baggage of everything that came before, you could maybe pull it off. But I think you're right. It would be tricky to do in a single movie.
Yeah. That's my opinion anyway. Carlos agrees that they will all die except Kelsey Grammer because he is expecting another kid. At 70, I think 70 is that, or is he a little older than that now? But I did know that
I don't think that Kelsey Grammer is hurting for money. I mean, he's got that Sideshow Bob scratch. So,
well, and he has didn't they reboot Frasier? Isn't that like on Peacock?
Yeah, that's over with though.
Oh, is it? That's already gone.
Yeah, that ended, I think, after season 2.
So Mackenzie actually.
Why doesn't anybody talk about the Sideshow Bob movie that everybody wants? That's what the people want.
So Mac, actually, the other Mac, actually brings up a great segue by bringing up Dark Phoenix. There are so many great X-Men stories in the comics to choose from. Are there any in particular that you would like to see Jake Schreier use?
Ironically, the note that I wrote down was, don't do the Dark Phoenix saga. I don't want them to do that again.
Well, I agree with you there. I mean, just drop it now.
Yeah.
You tried twice, failed twice. Don't go back to the well. Do something else.
What's funny is in thinking about this question, I came up with an idea for what they could do. Okay. So here we go. And this ties into what I think is going to happen in Avengers, which is that we said all the previous X-Men are going to go away, and then they're going to introduce new ones that will be in the MCU. Okay, so this is what I think would happen. After the dust settles, you have Professor X, Magneto, and some of the X-Men. I'm thinking Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Angel, and Iceman, i.e. the originals.
The originals. Okay, so
they end up.
Question first: Which Professor X and a Magneto, the old ones or the younger ones?
I'm thinking middle-aged ones. I'm thinking think of the original X-Men comics.
But do you keep the same actors? Because you have
all new actors.
All new actors. Okay.
All new actors. So it's all new. These are people who were and that's key because these are people who were on a world where the X-Men were basically like the Avengers. They were the superheroes. They were appreciated. They helped save the world. Everybody loved them. There was no prejudice. And I'll get to this. And then they end up in the MCU, and they realize now, because of the multiverse collapsing, that there are all these mutants now on MCU Earth. I forget which number it is.
6-1. Oh,
Is
the
it?
current one.
Yeah.
616 is the proper.
Right, but I don't know. That's not the same one as the movie. Well, I don't. Whatever. We'll call it the MCU Earth. So on the MCU Earth, you have these established X-Men from another world, and they realize there's other mutants now around, and they want to meet them, like Ms. Marvel.
Right.
But in what ends up happening is because of everything that's happened to the MCU Earth, people don't want to hear this crap. They don't want them. There's prejudice against the mutants. Suddenly, these people are experiencing prejudice for the first time, and it ends up splitting Charles and Magneto because they were friends up to this point and working together, and now they split, and Magneto goes off and forms the Brotherhood of Mutants. That's the end of the first movie, sets up the premise for a future movie.
That is fair and a great point. Let's go to the comics section quickly. I also realize I did not answer the first question myself, so I will get back to that too. Hemlock says, and I believe this is regarding into Dark Phoenix. Tall Order, it's a big story to tell. I agree with you, sir. And also really great to see you, Michael. Carlos says, are you talking about the fight scene with Nightcrawler? Yes.
Yes,
Carlos, if you remember who... Alan Cumming talked about a fight scene he has, but I can't remember who it's with. Carlos, if you can find that out really quick, that'd be awesome. Red says, give us Kitty Pryde. Yeah, Kitty's a great character. I'd love to see her. We already had a version of Kitty Pryde that I liked by... Is it Elliot Page now? I
Elliot.
don't want to fuck that. Okay, good. I didn't mess that up.
Yes.
I thought they did a great job in those movies. Although I would like to see more of the warrior, like the ninja that Wolverine trained version of Kitty Pryde, like just kicking ass and slicing up people and phasing through them. That would be pretty cool. Carlos says, I think if they kind of pick oh, that's a really interesting one. Messiah Complex, Messiah. Do a whole House of M kind of deal. But see, I think that's even more complex, especially the House of M stuff, because that takes a long time. And yes, Mr. Hemlock did confirm that he was talking about Dark Phoenix. A proper Colossus wouldn't hurt either. That would be awesome. I think he had, in the Fox movies, he had like 10 minutes of screen time or something. He looked cool. Didn't do a whole lot, but he looked awesome.
I liked him in the Deadpool movies.
that is a funnier version, but that is a comedic version. So switching back to the first question really quickly, what I liked that Jake did in the Thunderbolts movie is that, you know, of course you had the big set pieces and big action sequences, but he really delved into the characters, each individual one and their traumas. I would love to see that in the X-Men, because the way I remember the comics, especially in my teens and 20s, I'm like, God, these guys are all messed up. Everyone has problems. Like, these are the most unhappy superheroes ever. So I would like to see him go deep into character, and I think he's really well equipped from that. Although my answer to this question kind of flies in the face of that. I would like to see I'd love to see live action Mojo in the MCU, just because he's such a ridiculous looking character that I have no idea how they do it with CGI and who even plays him. That I mean, there's so many ways you can go with it. It seems like my default answer for everything is Danny DeVito, but I think we could do something funnier and sillier. I don't know. I almost want to say Patton Oswalt can be a Mojo. Yeah. So Mojo is such a ridiculous character, and his universe is ridiculous, where he kidnaps the X-Men and does like a TV show. He kidnaps them to get ratings, pretty much. So
I feel like I've seen that done in a bunch of cartoons.
Oh yeah, definitely have.
Like Teen Titans did something very similar with a character, and I feel like I've seen that done a bunch of times. So I don't know if that would work, but
I think I'm kind of hung up on ridiculous looking comic book characters and seeing them in live action, which will come into some answers that I'm going to give later.
Right.
But JC agrees with Hemlock that he needs more Colossus. Yes, but like a serious Russian farm boy Colossus. I'm down with that. Paul, you mentioned that you don't want to see Dark Phoenix again, or the Dark Phoenix saga again. Some X-Men fans are like, oh, I don't want Magneto to be the bad guy again. So aside from Mojo, who would you like to see as the bad guy in the X-Men movie? What are some possible ideas?
mean, what I said, the first thing that came to mind was Prejudice. That's the bad guy, basically. Especially given everything that's been going on in the world. I unfortunately think that Disney would be a little hesitant of that, because to do something that overtly social / political, because of what's been going on lately. In fact, there was a thing the other night, Stephen Colbert was talking about how it's Pride Week in New York, and as part of Pride Month. And he said that one of the things that he's noticed is that a lot of the companies have been pulling back. Like before, a lot of companies were being very supportive and they would do things, and now you see them really pulling back. And one of the reasons for it is because CEOs have not sort of said this, but they've kind of hinted that they don't know, if they do something like this, they don't know what the reaction of the Trump administration is going to be, and they just don't want to have to like deal with that. So, I mean, think
Disney has proven to be cowards with the way they've handled the whole ABC situation. So
yeah,
I expect nothing from them.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, how do you do an X-Men and not touch upon this stuff? And so that's the thing. Like, and also you can get away with things when you're not being that blunt about it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you say, oh, we're making a movie about how people are prejudiced against mutants, everybody goes, oh, okay. But like if you say like, oh, we're making a movie about how the Trump administration is prejudiced against people from Mexico, the Trump administration is going to freak out. So I don't know. I
agree with you. If you do it subtly, they won't notice. I mean, we have evidence of that with The Boys, because it took like the MAGA crowd 4 seasons to figure out that The Boys was mocking them. So.
Right. And Trump has never said anything about that show at all. So, so anyway, yeah. So that's there's nobody in particular. I think like you have to have Magneto in an X-Men movie. I mean, there's so many different characters of the X-Men, but there's so many of them that you don't have to have. Like, and I feel like Charles Xavier and Magneto are 2 of the ones you have to have.
Sure, but I mean, at different points, they've been allies, frenemies, enemies. So, I mean, there's so many different things you could do there. He doesn't necessarily.
Well, that's the thing. My idea was that, like I said, is that they're friends and they worked on the same side, and then they come to this universe, and all of a sudden they're subject to prejudice, and it taps into what Magneto's gone through in his life, and then he's like, no, screw them, and then he becomes the bad guy at the end, basically, which obviously people would know is coming, but if done well, it could still be kind of cool. So anyway, that's just me.
And for people that might not be familiar with how they were used in the comics, it was always like Professor X was the Martin Luther King, and Magneto was the Malcolm X in their battle against prejudice.
Right.
So
yeah,
let's go to the
I do understand the idea. I do understand the idea of him not being the big bad. The way that like Lex Luthor is always the big bad for Superman, but like I feel like he's got to be in there somehow.
Hemlock says, "Didn't we see MODOK live action? You're right, in Quantumania, and he looked as ridiculous as I wanted him to look." But it wasn't the proper MODOK. They kind of fudged his origin in there. JC wants to see Omega Red. That is a cool villain. I don't know if he's the primary bad guy though against the team. He's kind of, if it's against an X-Men team, he could be a mid boss. I think he works well as a Wolverine villain, or any solo villain, but as yeah, maybe he's part of a team. Hemlock feels they wasted Stryker. Whenever I see Stryker, I think of Ted Stryker from Airplane. I'm like, he wasn't in the movie. But God Loves Man Kills would have been, yeah, I mean, that's so good. But I don't know if you can do that now because of where I'm guessing we'll end up after Secret Wars. That, I mean, that's such a great story, but that's something you have to do in the beginning. Zach Morris, what's up, my man? X-Men messages are inherently ingrained. I really don't want the movie to do my homework for me. Also, fair point. Also, too much Wolverine history. And Carlos is the perfect segue here. Again, I'd love to see live action Mr. Sinister done properly, just because I'm a fan of how the character looks and his ridiculous costume. I don't think we got the full effect of Sinister yet. The Fox movies in general have left us disappointed with a lot of portrayals. Not to say that they didn't do a lot of things right, because they absolutely did. But if you look at how they used Angel, how they used a completely awful woman to play Psylocke, things like that. So right now is when I would typically do my advertising break, but as part of my penance, I will not do the full-blown spiel. So if you want to help out the channel, please check out the links in the Facebook and YouTube description. There's lots of products you can buy on Amazon, some cool VPN stuff, and that is the end of that. Zach Morris says he still wants Channing's Gambit movie.
He's going to be in Avengers.
He is going to be in Avengers. So, Paul, you mentioned current MCU characters. We already have Kamala Khan confirmed as the mutant. Let's talk about the people that are currently in the MCU or that we've seen in the MCU that we want to see in the X-Men movie. For me, I'm totally hyped to see more X-23. I'm a big fan of Daphne Keane. She's only 20, so they can use her for a long time in a bunch of X-Men projects going forward. I think she kicks ass. I loved her. Even as a little kid, she was kicking ass. And now that she's in a young adult, I want to see her tear shit up with her hand and foot claws. So, and of course, I'm a massive fan of Kamala Khan. So how could I not want to see more of her? How about you, Paul?
Those are two that I thought of as well. I also thought, I know he said he doesn't want to be part of the group, but I want Deadpool to have like a cameo in the X-Men movie. And I want it to almost be like him making a joke about how he's making a cameo in the X-Men movie to pay them back for making cameos in his movies, which is, I mean, I've already made the joke, but like he'll do a much better job. I think that would be just really fun. Like just him, like just sort of sitting there, like doing nothing, like, maybe Lady Deadpool sitting beside him, baby Deadpool and a Bjorn. I don't know. But yeah, those are the two that I thought of. Again, it's hard to say until we know. But one thing I did think of, which would sort of ruin this, is I was thinking maybe they shouldn't set this inside in New York. Like typically the Xavier School is in Westchester, which is outside the city. Maybe they should set it somewhere else. And I think they may even consider that, because one of the things that they've done with the Marvel movies is they've set things in other places. Like at one point, Tony Stark lived in Malibu.
Yes.
And the Eternals, like, they were living in London and different places and whatnot. And they've certainly had action all over the world. But I think like it would be kind of interesting if the X-Men school wasn't in New York City, so they were sort of separated from the Avengers. Like, so you didn't have absolutely everybody in New York protecting the place, and then nobody like. Well,
Westchester is not terribly far from Manhattan. It's just
no, but that's my point. Like, if you put it like if the school was say outside Chicago or outside Denver or someplace like where there haven't been a lot of superhero stories, it could be kind of interesting. Well, and again, I mean, it may because you've got the because then you have the issue of, do the superheroes bring the supervillains to town, or
Right.
are they our protectors? So,
Yeah, I mean, I guess
give
if
LA
you
some love. We need protecting.
well, isn't that what Kamala's doing? Because she's on the West Coast, and presumably that's where the champions,
Is she in the
champions.
West Coast? I mean, her
If
parents
you
live
look
in
in the
Jersey City. That's right outside.
if you remember in Daredevil Born Again, her dad said she was in California, presumably visiting Bruno, but also possibly assembling a team. And the original champions were LA, so
True. I
that
mean,
could
yeah.
be a thing there.
And that would work. I think that would work better to call them the champions than West Coast
Young
Avengers
Avengers
or
or
Young Avengers.
West Coast Avengers, yeah.
Avengers.
And we always have the Great Lakes Avengers. that was a
Right.
that was a great comic book. So yeah, just thinking we have Kamala Khan, and who else do we have? We have X-23.
Right.
They showed Beast, but that was still in that universe.
Right. Gambit is the only other one that they introduced.
Well, Namor is a mutant, and they said that he was a mutant. Or do I have to call him Namor now? I fucking hate that. Oh,
Namor.
Yeah, no, he's
Namor. But I thought he got in trouble, and now they're not going to have him back.
Oh, did he?
I seem to remember
himself.
Yeah, not as badly, but I seem to recall there being some nonsense with that.
Well, but he had a chair when they showed the trailer. The actor had a chair.
Did he? Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe that all blew over then. Maybe that was bullshit then. I don't know.
I'm like, did he Jonathan Winters himself? And I know his name is Jonathan Majors, but in my head, it's much funnier when I call him.
But
Jonathan.
then again, the other thing is the dynamic of the X-Men is you have this adult who is your professor / leader guy in the chair, and the X-Men are all younger.
Literally the guy in the chair because he can't walk.
Yeah. So I think having him be an X-Men doesn't make any sense. The way
I'm picturing Professor X spinning around and being like, guy in the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, totally want to see that. I like Steve Jobs as Magneto, and the other guy as Professor X also did well, but not as much. But I wouldn't mind seeing both of them back. You don't want to see them back?
Wait, Patrick Stewart and
no, from First Class.
What the hell's their damn name?
Yeah, those guys. That with
no, I feel like you kind of because I want them to kind of just wipe the. Well, first of all, they're not in the Avengers movies, and as far as we know, none of those people are.
Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy. I feel bad.
Oh, they are. Oh, no, because I looked at. No, because I looked it up on the internet last night, and nobody from any of those movies is mentioned in any of the stuff that I saw about Doomsday or
right, but that doesn't mean anything. They could be saving some surprises for.
Oh later. Yeah, we know they are. I mean, I'm sure they are. Yeah, I mean, I liked McAvoy and I liked Fassbender, but again, I don't. Are they really going to want to do another 5, 6, 7 movies? I don't think so. I mean, we know Jennifer Lawrence doesn't want to.
Yeah,
she said as much. So I would much rather them start over and show the X-Men as not teenagers, but as young people.
No, that is also absolutely fair.
Because one of the things I would like to eventually have happen is Cyclops grows up and takes over and becomes the whole, Cyclops is wrong, Cyclops is right guy.
Cyclops is always right, for the record. And one of the things that X-Men comics taught me is that it's okay to covet other people's wives, because that's all Wolverine did. That was his whole shtick. So,
I learned that from Eric Clapton, so you know.
yes. Zach Morris says, "I love me some James Marsden, and I hope he shows up as Cyclops at some point."
He's in the movie.
He's in the movie, and I
Yes,
expect him to die. Yeah, so he's one of the people I expect to die. Now, moving on to the next point, we've already had a few people in the audience say that they want to see more Colossus or Colossus done right. Now, Fox portrayed a lot of people not so well, let's say. Paul, who would you like to see get a second chance or get a chance to shine in the new X-Men movie?
Right. Well, you mentioned him earlier. Angel, I think, was just not really.
Well, if they have Namor, they're going to call him Angel now. God damn it.
I don't think either. I mean, I liked the third movie, unlike most people, but he wasn't really much of a point of that one.
He added nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, the best part of the other one was that he was listening to Metallica when he got transformed. You know, and that's not a reason to have someone back in a movie. The other thing I thought of was I liked Halle Berry as Storm, and I liked Alexander Shipp as Storm.
Right.
But I would like to see somebody do it again and do somebody who is much more godlike and regal. And more then go up against Thor.
Than Halle Berry? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, Halle Berry, like someone who I mean, Halle Berry, look, I love Halle Berry. She was good in that role. She's very cool. But she doesn't have that otherworldly look about her the way.
No, I get it. But she taught us what happens when a toad gets struck by lightning. So I'll be forever grateful for that.
Yeah. But I want somebody who's much more sort of like godlike and regal and then can go up against Thor and have there be some kind of
I don't know who you cast for that. That's a big ask.
I don't know, because the thing is, the person that I think of when I think of like ethereal and sort of like that is Anya Taylor-Joy,
right?
Who would absolutely be wrong for this, but that's I'm looking for somebody
as Storm. Yes, I think she would be.
That would be terrible as Storm. But that's what I mean. Like you look at her and she's otherworldly.
No, I agree.
Like,
but
no, I mean, yeah. Like Halle Berry looks like a real person. Like she doesn't look like
the woman that they got to play the ancient one in Doctor Strange. What's her face? That translucent English woman.
Oh, God! I know who you're talking about.
But she is also otherworldly and alien. So I get what you mean by that.
You know, so,
Hemlock has some great decades too late, but for Angela Bassett, young Angela Bassett.
There you go, Angela Bassett. If she would have been great for that, like years
Tilda
ago.
Swinton. That's who I was thinking.
Tilda Swinton. Thank you. Yes, Tilda Swinton is another one like that. Like
who's that translucent actor?
But again, Tilda Swinton, wrong for Storm.
Yes,
very wrong for Storm.
Yes, we went from Anya Taylor-Joy, who is white, to Tilda Swinton, who is see-through. So yes, we're going in a very wrong direction.
Yes, we're going in a very wrong direction. And I know there's somebody out there, and I bet you it's somebody we don't know because they're new and young and
yeah.
But well, I mean, when we see them, you're like, oh yeah. Okay.
In terms of physicality, and I have no idea if she can act in a movie role, but there's a young wrestler in WWE named Lash Legend, who is African-American woman, legit 6-footer. She played college basketball. So she's built and she looks like she can fight Thor. So just in terms of physicality, I'd love to see that. I don't know if she can act though. And
well, then the name that's been bandied around.
Jade Cargill, but I know she can't act though. So just from her WWE appearances, Jade Cargill literally looks like a superhero.
Yeah, she kind of looks like she does look like a superhero.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Cynthia Erivo has been apparently really wants to play it, but I don't like her, so I don't want that.
Oh, I loved her. And I'm down for
Lupita
a slow
Nyong'o
musical.
Lupita Nyong'o is another one who I think could pull it off.
Isn't she pushing 40 now, or how old is she now?
Again, like she's too hang on a second. Someone
But
just
at least we're not talking about white people playing Storm
right
anymore. So we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, Sonequa Martin Green.
And we know her from.
She was in Star Trek Discovery. She plays the captain in
never watched it, but I
and she was also in The Walking Dead. And the thing about her is, when I saw her in Star Trek Discovery, I thought they should get Angela Bassett to play her mom. She looks like a younger, slightly a different, like she could be Angela Bassett's kid. And unfortunately, they cast a different woman who was really, really good. But since we were talking about Angela Bassett,
we have someone standing for Jade Cargill here, so I need to defend myself. I don't care that she's been campaigning for the role for years. I mean, you've watched her as much as I have, and you know she's not a good actor even for WWE level acting. Physicality, she had to take like 6 months off so she could learn 2 new moves. So I don't know if she can do the stunt work either. But you did bring up an interesting point of characters you'd like to see. John Proudstar. They had him briefly in the Days of Future Past movie. I like that group of X-Men they had in the future, but they didn't do enough of them. I love the way they portrayed Blink. For the characters who I'd like to see, I want to see a cool Emma Frost, because I don't think that character has been done correctly. They had who did January Jones played her in the First Class movies? Didn't do a whole lot. I want to see her being like extremely arrogant, but also having a point. Very sharp tongue.
Anya Taylor-Joy would be good for
she
that
would kick
role.
that. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to see her in that outfit now too.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be very cool. I would like to see Psylocke played by a person that isn't completely terrible. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, Emma Frost is the big one because I love her character. Especially in the Grant Morrison comics. I just love how sharp-tongued she is. I loved her rapport with Kitty and how because they were just such polar opposites. We think of Kitty Pryde as like this tender, wholesome girl that we got to see grow up at the Xavier Academy. And Emma Frost is this mega super bitch who kind of has a point though. Like in my head, her personality is like female John McEnroe. Because whenever John McEnroe would throw his tantrums, he was always a complete asshole, but he always had a point, I thought. So not a major character, but they did Darwin dirty in the movie. Yes, but the actor has had some redemption recently. Yeah, First Class, they did a lot of people dirty in those movies. Is it true that Denzel Washington is playing Magneto? I did not hear that.
He's supposed to be in
the next Black Panther movie.
Black Panther, and Ryan Coogler said he wrote a part for him, but Denzel has also said that he's getting close to retiring, so you know, they're not gonna get someone who's that close to retiring. They're not gonna just bring in someone, you know, for something like that.
I mean, he did play Malcolm X, so if you're going to go with the
analogs,
yeah.
You know, there's a rumor about who they want for Kitty Pryde. And it's a woman by the name of Julia Butters, who was, I think she was in, well, no, not from South Park. She's in a sitcom called American Housewife, but she was very young at that. And I think she was in that Once Upon a Time in America movie.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, she played Trudy. She who shares the screen with Leonardo DiCaprio, according to Wikipedia. So she is apparently like in the running or rumored for the role of Kitty Pryde, and she's really good. She's really good in American Housewife, like when she was like a little kid. So I think she could pull that off.
See, I have the who's the werewolf girl in Wednesday? Enid. I forget the actor's name.
Oh, Emma Myers.
Emma Myers. I mean, she's rumored to be playing Spider-Gwen, but I could see her being Kitty. I would prefer her as Spider-Gwen, actually, but she's a Kitty Pryde type to me.
Yeah, she's really good. She was just in the Minecraft movie.
I did not see it, but I believe it's streaming now, so I will watch it.
Yes, it's on. It just got on HBO and HBO Max, and it's not good, but she's fun in it.
Yeah, and I believe she's naturally dark-haired, right?
Yes, she is naturally. Yeah. She's naturally dark-haired and looks that way in the Minecraft movie. So, and then the other one that I really like is
Kitty to you in the Minecraft movie.
Hmm?
Does she look kitty-ish to you in the Minecraft movie?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. And then the other rumor that I really like is Hunter Schafer from Euphoria for Mystique.
Ooh.
She's another one of speak of ethereal people, but like so her as Mystique would be super cool.
Some people were actually fan casting Sydney Sweeney as Emma Frost, who I would love to see in an Emma Frost outfit. I will not argue with that.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think Anya Taylor-Joy would work better in that role, but I understand the thinking.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Anya Taylor-Joy has that more commanding presence.
Yes.
Where you can see her going off on someone and going off verbally on someone and having it physically hurt them.
To me, Sydney Sweeney is not just a pair of boobs. Like, I think
she's talented.
Like, she's got, like, she was, I mean, like, if I remember correctly, she was one of the few things I liked in Madam Web. But like, I don't see her, like you said, like, she doesn't have that sort of like, I'm a leader kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't see the pretentious bitch thing. I'm sure she could do it. Funnily, the thing that clued me to her skills as an actor was that SNL sketch, Bowen's Gay. I totally believed. I'm like, wow, she has me believing she's in love with Bowen Yang. Like, that's acting. Mackenzie says, don't watch the Minecraft movie unless you're a capital letters huge fan of Jack Black. I'm a fan of Jack Black.
I would add to that, or you're a huge fan of Minecraft. I was watching that movie and I was like, I don't understand this, and I feel like I'm sitting here watching a giant inside joke that I don't get.
I don't know. I feel like I have to support Khal Drogo as well. He's in that too, yeah.
Yes, he is.
And
one of the women from Peacemaker was in it too, but I don't remember her name. She's super cool.
Interesting. Let us close out on this for our X-Men stuff before teasing the next few episodes that we're going to do. So,
okay.
There are a bunch of Marvel mutants that were not used in the MCU or the Fox movies. So many to choose from. Who's out there that hasn't been in a previous live action movie that you want to see in Jake Schreier's X-Men?
There's one in particular that I like, and you would have to do it exactly right in terms of the way they look, because otherwise he would look like somebody else, and that would be bad. And that is Dupe. I love Dupe. I think he would be fantastic, but if you make him look wrong, he ends up looking like Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Or a turd.
Or that. And it would be funny because that Peter Parker would make a joke about him looking like Slimer from Ghostbusters, but...
You guys ever see that really old movie, Ghostbusters?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting. I love it, though. Again, that falls into the category of like visually weird things that I want to see along the lines of, Dupe and, as Hemlock mentioned, MODOK. Still cracks me up. That was
and also is his name Quentin? The sort of jerk kid.
Yes. Quentin Quire. I believe
Yeah,
is
he's another one. He's another one I'd like to see, but like I don't want to
great
see him
character.
as an X-Men. I want to see him as like a student, like Dupe. Like I want them to be like students, you know.
Right. Quentin Quire.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love that character. Ooh, Forge. Yes, he's one that has been instrumental in so many X-Men runs that I was actually surprised they didn't do more with him. Obviously in X-Men 97, he was a big part of that, but yeah, live action Forge done right. That would be good. He wasn't in the Fox stuff at all. I feel like I'm probably misremembering, but I remember maybe a
I
bit
thought he
character.
might have been in Days of Future Past,
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
but he didn't like say much.
Yeah. Um, for me, and I'm going because I don't know who's going to be writing this, so you can write these characters in so many ways. So I'm going with visually cool and or weird looking ones. I'd love to see Armor. I think she has a cool character. Her power set is really cool and would look cool in live action if they do it right, or it could look really lame. Like, why does she have a Shogun warrior outfit on all of a sudden? But her powers are that she can generate an exoskeleton. And because she's a Japanese girl, they always look like, like like anime armor, like those kinds of things, like the Shogun warriors or the giant Power Rangers. The other one I want to see is Glob Herman because he's really weird. He's just like a glob. You can see his organs though, and he's just really doofy looking, kind of funny. Carlos mentioned Polaris. That could be really cool. And she's kind of like the reluctant superhero, married Cyclops' brother, daughter of Magneto, also has those powers. And she has green hair, which I'd love to see. Who would you cast as Polaris? That's an interesting one. What do you think of some of these picks, Paul? Forge, Polaris.
I mean, Forge is to me like kind of like a not a background character, but like a supporting character. Not like a main character. Like he's again like the guy back at this building helping out and stuff. But yeah, I think it would be cool to have him in there. But again, like I feel like for the movies, the people that are going to be the X-Men as opposed to the students, like you have to kind of stick with the people that people know, but you can introduce new ones. You know what I mean? Like you have to have Cyclops in there. You have to have Jean Grey. At some point, you got to bring in Wolverine. I think Angel would be important. Iceman would be important. And then I think you could bring, maybe like later bring in somebody like, elevate them from like the minor leagues to the major leagues
Right.
and whatnot,
Right. I mean, maybe
and
that's
that's kind of the beauty of the X-Men though, is that like, if you introduce, Polaris in the second movie, then they become a major character in the third movie and in the fourth movie. And then meanwhile, you're adding new ones and it almost becomes like, kind of like Law and Order. Like literally there's nobody on Law and Order now that was on it when it started. But over time, like they've changed characters and this and that. And like,
right.
You could do that with the X-Men where like, 20 years from now, you're making X-Men movies and like Charles Xavier is gone. Cyclops is the dean of the school. Everybody else is off somewhere, doing their own thing. And you've got this whole new cast.
It works if Kamala does her Champions thing where she has the growing pains and does the Teen Titans bit, and later she graduates to the X-Men for practical reasons, that could work, and for narrative reasons because she's still young. So maybe even have X-23 in that group of champions as well, because Daphne's only 20, so she has plenty of time to do the proper X-Men stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because when I think of Daphne, like for some reason, I think because we met her as such a little kid, and
Yeah.
now she's older, even though it hasn't been that long. Like, I think of her as being like too old to be a student. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No,
I
I
know
get it.
she's not, but like I think of her as being in like her 30s and like, like
No,
being
it took
old enough
me,
to like.
I absolutely get what you mean. It took me a long time to adjust to Natalie Portman being an adult, where I always think of her as the little girl in The Professional. So
Yeah,
that took me a while to get over.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
totally see what you mean with Daphne Keene.
Because I
Because
don't know how old Daphne was in the Wolverine movie, but like,
when did Logan come out anyway? What year was that?
let's look.
2017. Ah, so yeah, we've been watching her for 8 years.
Right.
So yeah, so she was 12 then. God, or
Yeah.
11
Because
when they
she
were
has
filming.
I mean, the one thing I would say in Deadpool movie is that she didn't have in Logan is she has a maturity about her.
Right.
And it is a maturity beyond her years. So I think that's also part of it. Because in Logan, she's a little kid, but she's like a really little kid in the way
Right.
she behaves.
Right.
Like, it's almost like she was like immature for her age then, and in Deadpool she's like mature for her age. So it makes it like seem like she grew even further. So I don't know. Anyway.
If you guys haven't seen it, there's a testing video that she did with Hugh Jackman where they're reading lines for a scene where she's trying to explain to him in Spanish because that's all she could speak at the time. The character, not her personally. And she's so good in that test scene that you can tell that she was going to rock that movie. It really, really good scene. So that will be a wrap for our Jake Schreier X-Men movie. If you guys have any more ideas, please share them in the comments section. The next few episodes are going to be fun. Next week, Paul and I will be back along with probably Carlos to review Ironheart. The week after that, I believe will be July 10th. Paul and I will be back with Mac, and we will be reviewing The Old Guard 2. We have a bunch of movie reviews planned for July. We got Superman, Fantastic Four, and I have a interview / hanging out chat session with the CEO of the new and improved Acclaim. So hopefully that comes through in July. If not, I will do something else, not that. Thanks for watching RPadTV. Be sure to go to paulsemel.com, and we'll see you next week for some Ironheart content. Be good, guys.